Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day. And that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
I got tagged, so I commented, gladly PM me.
You commented what?
PM me with more details.
Personal message private message me
yes.
with more.
Yes.
We'll get there. We'll get an interpreter? Should we just get an interpreter?
This is the plaintiff, Bunya Turk. She says she was hired by the defendant as a seamstress for an art contest she was entering. They made a deal that if she won the grand prize of $1,500, she'd get 45% of the prize money. Well, lo and behold, the defendant won. She hasn't been paid her portion of the prize money and is suing her here and now, this double-crosser, for the $525 she still owed. This is the defendant, Rachel Udkoff. She says she paid the plaintiff in full as per their agreement and owes nothing. She did win the first prize money, but she had expenses which ate up all that prize money, and there's simply nothing left over. She's sorry, but she owes this woman nothing but a curt goodbye. She's accused of stiffing a seamstress.
All parties, please use your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Millian in our forum, the People's Court.
You seated? Come to order, please. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Bunya Turk, you are suing Rachel Udkoff for $525 that you say you are owed for work that you did on a project for her. Okay, let me hear from you first.
Okay, the defendant posted that she needed help with the contest, a sukkah project.
A sukkah. Tell me what a sukkah is.
A sukkah it's for the Jewish holiday. It's supposed to be a temporary home dwelling outdoors,
okay.
But this was an art project for that,
okay.
a competition.
Okay, so go ahead.
She posted photos of the fabrics. She needed somebody to sew it. I got tagged, okay. So I commented, gladly PM me.
You commented what?
PM me with more details.
Personal message private message me
yes.
with more.
Yes.
We'll get there.
We'll get an interpreter. Should we just get an interpreter? All right, with more details. So the two of you communicate and decide that you are going to sew. What exactly were you looking for, according to you?
So I had the materials already, and I needed her to sew, to basically hem them and sew some of them together and to cut them. And to cut them into triangular pieces.
Okay. And according to you, you hired her to do that for how much?
For $150.
Okay. Then what happens?
So the verbal agreement was after I sat down for an hour, took down notes, what she needed. It was a big job. It wasn't just cutting out triangles. I had to make a pattern. It was 14 pieces of fabric, 8 feet tall. I took down all the details, the notes. And after she said, I only have $100 left in the budget, and I said I could give you 100. She said I could give you 150. I said, okay, it's a contest, right? So that gives me exposure. And what happens if it wins? So he said, oh, if it wins, I could pay you. So
all this takes place before you start the job?
Yes. Later, I Messenger, can we define, before you pick it up, I want to define in writing what happens if it wins.
Now you want to define it in writing.
No.
So you've already done the job, and you say, before you pick up the job, I'd like to define in writing. Go ahead.
Define exposure and define what happens if it wins. What does it mean? I can pay you if it wins.
And what does she say?
She said, no, it's just 150 and that's it. So I asked for add my name on the contest and 45% of the prize if it wins.
45%?
Of the prize if it wins. It was 5 days of full-time work.
Well, I didn't make you take that job. In other words, okay, so you took a job for $150, and then after you worked on the job, you decided that it should pay more. You wanted not just more money, you wanted credit for, what was this again? This was a design project that you did?
It was a design competition.
A design competition that you created.
Over months of work, and I also was working with another designer at first. And
right, and she wanted credit as though she had designed it.
She demanded fair exposure and proper pay if it wins, and to add my name as to the competition as someone who created your vision, and an agreement of 45% of the prize money. So
now your perspective on this was, she's got me over a barrel. Let me see the actual text. Does anybody have it in their phones?
I have it.
Thanks. Okay. On September 13th, you say, can I come by today to pick them up? And you say that at 3:27. At 4:11, this is what you respond to her. I know ideally we should have taken care of all the technicalities before a job, but this was so rushed that here we are now. I'd like to clear everything up in writing before pickup, which really means you've got the baby, and if you ever want to see your baby again, you'll pay me the ransom. All right, can you talk? And she says to you, which technicalities are you referring to? We spoke the first night and came up with a professional agreement. I told you my budget. We agreed on a price of $150. I also agreed to pay for the materials, which you told me were $35, and I'm assuming you're right. I haven't seen receipts post-agreement. And you may keep the excess materials I've bought. I've worked in freelance before. The first few jobs I've taken were done for free or very little. I've had a few other seamstresses offer to do this job for free, but I trust your work and you seemed happy to do it. I would really love to see how it came out, and I really look forward to establishing a professional relationship with you in the future. To which you respond, I am referring to the definition of exposure and how much I get if it wins. Those are the two things mentioned that night that we didn't define. The baseline price for the work I did is $1,000. That comes out of left field completely. Like, you just decided that it's $1,000? I can only imagine what's going through your head. What's going through your head?
I don't know what to do.
So 20 minutes later, you answer, I understand you are a professional. Although this is your first freelance job, we knew going in the time and effort it would take. As you know, I am already way over budget, even if I do win. And we never agreed on that high a price, $1,000, or even alluded to it at the beginning. If we had, I would have gone with someone else. That's fair. I was planning on giving you double what I agreed to pay you. That sounds like a good tip. Double, 100% tip. If I do win, but I have no more to possibly give. I personally had to put more than 3 months' work on this project. What's the prize money?
$1,500.
Okay. I appreciate the effort and work you put into it, and I would like to give you fair exposure for the work you put into it. You could have told me all this at the beginning. If it was too much work as a professional, I would have gotten someone else to do it. I would like to come by and give you a check for your work and pick up the fabrics tonight. That was at 6:53. Crickets. Crickets until 8:24. You can't stand it anymore. And you write, when can I come and pick them up tonight? To which she responds, fair exposure and proper pay, if it wins, would be to add my name to the competition as someone who created your vision, and an agreement on 45% of the prize. Tonight, I am out for a friend's birthday. So at 8:43, 20 minutes later, you say to her, I'm sorry, but that is absolutely absurd. You didn't design it or come up with the vision. You did the design I told you to do. You have not worked on it with me from the start, nor have you even worked a quarter of the amount. As I told you, I am already over budget, cannot pay you more than what I have stated. This is incredibly unprofessional and unethical. To which you get crickets. Nothing. Then at 10:20, I guess you're coming unglued, and you say, I have thought about it and I really have no choice but to give in to what you are saying because I will suffer a huge loss of months of time, effort, and income if I don't get the fabrics by tonight. I just got off the phone with the director. She will put your name on the website and give you the credit you have requested. I really need the fabrics by tonight, though. Then you say, let me ask Mimi to give it to you. Who's Mimi?
My roommate at the time.
Okay. Are you going over now? Yeah. They are hanging on hangers. I kind of want the hangers. Jeez. But also, it will lose its press, so if you compile it, less hangers, great. If not, no worries. I got it, just got it home, thank you. Who is the director you spoke with? You answer that day at almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you answer. The website description has been added, giving you the credit you don't deserve. I would prefer, because now she's got the fabrics, giving you the credit you don't deserve. I would prefer you not to be there during the event. I can figure out the setup on my own. You did a beautiful sewing job, and I appreciate the workmanship. A few of the materials were placed backwards. It took me 3 hours to put the half-inch rope in because many of the parts were sewn unevenly and were too thin to fit. All right. So what are you referring to when you say that it took you 3.5 hours to get the rope through?
So at the I actually have a picture of the design.
Yeah. So tell me about it.
At the top of it was a rope that basically I fit all the fabric through in order to hold the fabric up.
Okay.
But I had to actually rip some of them in order to just even fit it through because the seams were too small and it wasn't correct on the seams.
All right. So now, how'd you do?
I won.
You won. You won first prize, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, did you communicate with her and tell her, or did she communicate with you? How did she find out that you won first prize?
So she actually showed up at the event.
So she did?
Yeah. And
was that her right here in this picture?
That was her in the picture,
It looked like her in the picture.
Yeah.
So
Wait, let me see.
And she asked my photographer, who I hired to come there to take photos of her in there.
That's from my camera, my sister.
okay, but that's fine. But that's you, right? Okay, I thought it was you.
It is.
All right. All right. So what do? You win, and what happens?
And then I go home. I got the money, and I go home. And then
When do you hear from her next?
I hear from her a few days, or I think the next day. And then a few months later, she messaged me again.
Okay. She then says to you, hey, I gave you more than enough time. Why were you ignoring her? Why didn't you just do what you said you were going to do? And
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. I will say, the defendant won the art contest. But is it still going in? Is it too risky for the seamstress to say, yeah, don't pay me, I'll just take 45% of your winnings if you win?
Oh, it's up to her, but
Is it too risky for you?
it's too risky for me.
Why?
You do the work, you get paid. You don't wait for a contest. That's all opinion.
What are you saying?
I would definitely want to get paid. I don't want to take that risk, no.
Have you ever been to Vegas?
Sure.
You like it?
Love it.
Why isn't this different than Vegas?
Vegas has scenery, has a nice background, and you have a lot more things to do. This is just, it's like you just fulfill your debt. If you owe somebody...
I didn't think you could answer that question, but you did a good job. That was really good, going inside the courtroom.
I felt like through the blackmail that she didn't deserve the money.
so
that
you
she
feel that it was like blackmail, basically, to have the fabrics and to all of a sudden change the rules. And but you do know you did say to her, okay, we'll do X, Y, Z. You actually did give her the credit. Did that change according to you? That got taken down eventually? What happened there? You had the director of this contest take her name out?
So, yeah.
Yeah, how come?
I did. I would have changed it and kept her there. She was not the creator of the vision. I have a picture of...
So why did you put her name up at all? Because you wanted the fabrics. And you were worried she wasn't going to give it to you because she was ignoring you until you said you would do it. So in January, you decide to sue.
Yeah.
So how do I... Okay, so here's the thing. You want me to enforce the 45% of the prize money after expenses provision, because according to you, it was a modification of the contract that both sides agreed upon.
A definition of what happens if it wins and exposure.
Right. But you concede that didn't happen until she kept demanding to pick it up, trying to pick it up, and you ignored her for hours, right? It wasn't until she conceded. Yeah, it's all the same
day.
Yeah, but that's the day she needs to pick it up, which you knew at 3-something like I said earlier.
That day.
Yeah,
I knew that day.
Well, it had been done the day before. You had already texted her the day before that it was done.
That I had it over, but I was
Yeah, you said it was ready, it's done, but let's talk tomorrow. Then the let's talk tomorrow ended up being I want more.
5 days nonstop, no sleep. It means like waking up at 8 a.m.
Who's that on? I'm sorry. You're the seamstress.
I did it.
You knew beforehand. You took the job. You knew what it entailed. Nobody changed what the job entailed. There weren't change orders. She didn't decide she wanted something different. She sat there, explained everything to you, and the decision was made. It's $150. And then if I win, you can get something more. What the something more is, no one knows. But why would it ever be more than double your pay? Like double your 100% tip is so much. Why would it ever be more than that? And so you say to her, it needs to be 45%, and I want credit to someone who created your vision, to a designer who has spent months working on this, when she thought she hired somebody for $150 to sew some seams. You see, for her fabrics, she had picked out the way she had picked them out. That's what you were doing. All of a sudden now, you're at the competition, taking pictures in there, and kind of holding her hostage. Convince me why it's not just blackmail, because that's kind of how it looks, for you to all of a sudden demand all these things.
I would never hold it back. I wanted this to succeed. I cared about the project.
It didn't look that way because
I cared about the project.
I don't doubt that, but it didn't look like you were going to release the stuff because you ignored all her texts until when she said, "I can't believe you're doing this. This is so unfair. This is unprofessional." Crickets until 10-something at night. When she caves, immediately you answer, "I'll talk to Mimi and you can pick it up tonight." I mean, that's how it looked. Exactly how it looks like. Tell me why it isn't that.
Honestly, I would have just wanted to negotiate. If she said less,
what gives you the right to negotiate after the negotiations are concluded? The negotiations were $150.
Such a short time.
Okay, a contract is when two sides agree to give something up. You agree to give up your valuable and talented time, and you agree to pay somebody $150. That's a contract. But when someone who is in a contract turns around and says, "Oh, by the way, I have a list of demands. The demands are I want 45% of your prize money, and I want credit as someone who brought your vision into reality." That is not a contract because she didn't give anything else up that she didn't already have a right to do. She had a right to get that stuff that night, okay? But you were ignoring her, so she wasn't gonna. Her promise to pay you that, for it to be a new contract that supersedes, has to be accompanied by something you gave up. And the only thing you gave up was what you were supposed to give up already. You didn't give up anything new. So no, that is not a new contract that I'm going to enforce. And my verdict in this case is for the defendant.
So the plaintiff fails in her effort. Ms. Turk, it didn't work. Come over here. What are you thinking right now?
What am I thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, I hear what the judge is saying. I also wouldn't count a few hours of ignoring as me ignoring her.
Well, the judge did.
Yeah, like for me, it's just like
immediately when she gave in, then you gave.
It's more like I need to think about this. I need time. And
the judge thinks you would blackmail. Would you see where she feels that way?
I could see that, but I don't. Yeah,
well, you may not agree, but thank you very much. Okay. All right. Good for you. You know, I have the impression that this was step over here, please. This was a very important thing for you, this contest.
Yes, it was months of work and effort on my part.
Has it benefited you winning first place?
Yes. I mean, I got a lot of exposure, and it was a fun and great contest to be a part of.
And what do you actually do? I mean, this was an art contest specifically, right?
A design contest, yeah. I'm a designer.
A design for what?
Yeah, so I design ritual baths, actually, as a living. And,
okay.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
For winning both places. Okay. You must step out that way, and that'll do it. Harvey?
Hey, Doug, the judge is talking about there not being a new contract because the plaintiff isn't giving anything up. In the law, that's called consideration. That means each side has to give something and each side has to get something. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
This is the plaintiff, Gina Drab. She says she rented some commercial space to the defendant, who opened a hair salon. And almost immediately, the cops were called due to marijuana odors emanating from the place. She filed for an eviction. The defendant trashed the place before she vacated. And she's here suing for $3,220.74 for damages, rent, and attorney's fees. This is the defendant, Ashley Packard. She says everything was fine for the first year, but a new tenant moved in upstairs. That's when the problem started. She says the plaintiff changed and started harassing her workers and her clients, so she moved out, left the sinks and chairs there because they belonged to the place, put her trash on the street, and is now being sued? Come on. She's accused of getting messy.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff rented commercial space to the defendant, who opened a hair salon, says the defendant was heavy into weed and trashed the place. But the defendant says the problems were from another tenant. It's the case of the salon that gave everyone a buzz.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
A68 LLC, represented by Ms. Drab. You're the owner?
Yes.
Okay. You're suing Ashley Packard for $3,220.74 in rent and utilities, because according to you, she violated a stipulation that the two of you had entered into and in landlord-tenant court. All right. You own a piece of property that is a salon?
Yes.
And you rented it. When did you start renting it?
In December.
So how long were you there in total?
A year and a half.
Okay. And what went wrong?
The reason we're here is because she did not meet the stipulations of the
Right. How did you
mediator.
end up in landlord-tenant court? What was the first thing that went wrong in this tenancy?
The rent was not paid for July and August
Okay. So July and August of what years?
of 2018.
18. Did you pay July and August?
No, that's because I received a notice to quit.
Okay. And were you in the middle of a lease?
Yes.
All right. So she stops paying rent, and why did you give her a notice to quit? Had you received any complaints or anything?
The reason was that she was constantly late with rent. Also, the electricity had to be paid at that time. Sometimes she would pay it at the same time, sometimes it would be later. But there were other reasons that I spoke to her. It was that she brought in people to do acrylic nails. The acrylic nails were producing a very bad offensive odor, which traveled. The lady upstairs had commented on it, and I spoke with her. She said that the ones that were doing the nails were going to be bringing in a ventilation system.
That stuff never works. All right, anyway, so what was the deal with the people who you hired to do nails? Let me quote you. They were Spanish and sometimes could be a bit mouthy. But the plaintiff was the one who was being disruptive to our business. You know those Spanish people.
They are quite mouthy.
You know those Latinas. They can be a bit mouthy.
So,
okay.
yes, my girls who are working for me, or with me, I should say, because they rented their spots, they could be a little, they just stood their ground with what they knew was
okay,
right.
but what was it that what were they
Gina
saying their ground about? Would she come in person and complain, or was a tenant upstairs coming down?
So Gina was trying to get a hold of me one day. I was in the middle of an updo class at another salon. So when I got out of class, I heard all these voice messages from my coworkers telling me that she came in and she was screaming at them to stop doing what they were doing, to call me. And when they told her that I was at an updo class, they said that she threw down her purse on the floor and started snooping through my drawers in my station, and she started going through the salon. They said they didn't know what she...
Did they video her?
They didn't video it, but this is what...
How so? And this day and age where basically everybody videos everybody all the time,
know, but
that would be priceless video.
They were in the middle of doing nails. They had clients sitting in their chairs, and it was just overall very unprofessional. And
all right. So there's no rent paid in July. There's no rent paid in August. You file a notice of eviction. You end up in landlord-tenant court. So there is a stipulation entered into that the defendant, that would be you, agrees to pay $1,665.28 No later than September 5th. Did you make that payment on September 5th?
I did, and I have the
How did you
receipt.
make the payment on September 5th?
Check. And
Did you mail it, or what'd you do?
I actually drove to her house, and I put the check in her mailbox.
So the picture you have is you putting the check in her mailbox?
Correct.
Okay, is that your mailbox?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and that is, the picture's dated September 5th at 10 o'clock at night. Technically, she complied, so you don't see it until September 6th, right?
Correct.
And you deposited September 6th. So that was one of the things you said she didn't comply with, but you cannot prove that she didn't comply with.
No,
That was fine.
that
All right,
was
so
not
then the next thing that she's supposed to do, the defendant agrees to remove all belongings, leave the premises broom clean, and will return any and all keys to the plaintiff upon vacating. Any items left behind will be deemed abandoned. Okay, according to you, she didn't do that. She left it a mess, correct?
Correct.
Tell me about it.
Well, there was a station that, those are some of the pictures. This is a chair that was left outside.
All right, what's this a picture of? This is all of the garbage?
That's all the garbage, which the city would not pick up that garbage. You have to make special arrangements. Being a business, they don't bother with it at all. It has to be done privately.
But she could have done that, right?
Right, I text her, say, you need to make special arrangements. Never heard from her. The city
Okay,
never heard from her.
why did you leave it all out like that? You're not allowed to leave it all out like that on the sidewalk, much less.
That's where we always put our trash.
You know, that's where you put one bag of trash on trash day, and probably not even on the sidewalk. But you know, she's gonna get fined as a property owner if you do that. What's this big black thing? Well, no, you know, I mean, I'll judicialize her upon you. You know that you went to court. You know that people have a magnifying glass. They're looking at everything you do. Take this stuff with you. Take it to the dump. Why would you leave it out there and create this issue now? Because you know what the problem is. You skated on July and August rent. That was part of the stipulation. She's suing you now for July and August rent because she says you violated the stipulation. If I were you, I'd be able to lick off the floor that I left behind because I would be so afraid of what is happening now happening. July and August rent being sued for. You know, because you have this agreement that's in your favor, really.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay the attorney. You don't have to pay July or August. You don't have to do anything. All you got to do is what you're supposed to do when you leave, which is leave it really spotless. And then instead, you leave all this garbage behind, because I have a right to. You don't have a right to. All right, let's see what else it was. Okay, that's another picture of the garbage. That gives you an idea. You think that that's okay, that you can leave that on the sidewalk and it's not going to create a problem for somebody?
I do agree. I had nobody to help me move.
That's
that
a
stuff.
you problem.
I understand.
And that's
that.
why you're being sued, you see? That is a you problem. That's not a her problem. It's not a city problem. It's not a me problem. That's a you problem.
So if the deal was 2 months free rent, but only if you leave the place clean, and the place wasn't left clean, when it's all over, can you sue for the landlord sue for the 2 months rent?
I guess if it's a verbal agreement, no. But if it was written, you signed it.
Why does it have to be written? Why can't it be verbal?
Agreement's agreement, written or not.
What do you say?
She didn't live up to her half of the contract, so she should be sued.
She has to pay. Going inside the courtroom.
What is this a picture of? Okay, garbage left in shampoo sinks. All right, it's a little cap of some kind of residue. Somebody else has to stick their hand in and pick up. Alcohol. You left alcohol behind? What kind of alcohol? What'd you leave behind there? Is it wine? Woodbridge? Okay. Alcohol, clutter left in back room. Okay. Nail polish in small room. All right. It's a spill.
That's where they did pedicures.
Stuff left on stair landing.
Some of that stuff was already there when I got there.
That was never there before.
What is this that I'm looking at?
That's a sink that's on the landing.
Oh, whose sink is that?
It was one that I purchased that I couldn't use.
Okay, but you understand that her property is not your personal dump site. I know it cost money and trouble to go to the dump site, but you don't get to leave your stuff behind. I mean, you had to know that judicial eyes are upon you because of this stipulation. Why would you risk this?
I guess I understand exactly what you're saying.
What's this, your sign? You didn't take it off of the window?
I didn't realize I had to.
Is it a film? What is it?
My father's friend had put it on for me, and I'm not sure how he did it.
Okay, and that's not the only thing that you left behind. You left all soiled bathroom. Oh, a flush would be nice. All right. Where are you now? Are you running your business somewhere else, or did you give up?
No, I run a little studio.
What is a studio that does what?
Oh, it's Coco and Glam Studios, and we do body painting, hair and makeup.
Okay. It was so simple. So simple. All you had to do was not leave garbage behind, call your father's friend to help you take the stuff off, and we wouldn't be here. And instead, now you have a new business somewhere else and a fresh start, and now I'm about to saddle you with all of these charges, which is sad. $3,220.74, verdict for the plaintiff. Good luck, folks.
So the plaintiff gets everything she was suing for, all $3,220, Ms. Packard. Sorry, but it's obvious you left a lot of stuff behind.
I guess I did, but, when she wants to walk in and say crazy things, it just makes me not want to be the best tenant that I could possibly be. So
No, you weren't, obviously.
No.
You've left a mess. Okay. Sorry about that. I hope you learned a lesson from all this.
Sure.
Think so?
Yes, I have.
Good for you. All right. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, Ms. Drab, I think people watching can understand why you filed a lawsuit,
Yes.
Feel
Thank
better
you.
now?
Yes, I do.
Good enough. Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Harvey?
There was something mentioned in the case, Doug, that I think is interesting, that if you're in a state where marijuana is legal, assuming you're allowed to smoke it in your own place of business, or you're even allowing other people to do it, I don't know that that's a violation of anything. It would be like a cigarette unless the lease specifically said you're not allowed to smoke cigarettes. So I'm not so sure that disqualifies the tenant. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.
This is the plaintiff, Jay Johnson. He says he and the defendant used to work together, and a louse unloaded his piece of junk 1998 Pontiac on him. That's right, the guy sold him a real lemon, so he gave him back the keys and told him he wanted his money back. The defendant did return some of his money, still owes him $220, and that's why he's here suing him in his courtroom today. This is the defendant, George Schoendorf. He says the car he sold him worked perfectly because he drove it for 2 years without ever having a problem. Just to keep the peace, he agreed to take the car back, and he returned every penny of the plaintiff's money and sold the car to someone else. He doesn't know what kind of fast one the plaintiff's trying to pull by filing this lawsuit, but he's sure the judge will see right through it because he doesn't owe him anything. He's accused of taking advantage of a coworker.
All parties, please use your right hand.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff sold the defendant a 98 Pontiac, and it was a lemon. But the plaintiff returned it and didn't get the full deposit back. The defendant says the plaintiff drove it for 2 years, and still he took it back, so please, it's the case of the 98 ain't great.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Mr. Johnson, you are suing Mr. Schoendorf for $220 you say he still owes you in the return of a lemon he sold you. Tell me what's going on.
Well, me and Mr. Schoendorf used to work together. He sold me a car on Friday. As soon as I took the car home, the brakes went.
What kind of car?
He sold me a 1998 Bonneville.
Okay.
As soon as I took the car at home.
1998, huh?
Yeah. As soon as I took the car home.
Old enough to vote? Maybe old enough to drink? Wow.
The car squirted brake fluid on everywhere, and it had no more brakes. So I called George that night and let him know.
And you felt like he already knew because there was a bottle of brake fluid in the back seat.
In the back of the car.
Okay.
So I'm figuring that he put enough fluid in it to get it down there.
Did he ever tell you anything about it needing brake fluid or that there was something?
Never.
Well, but were you deluding yourself into thinking that a car that is old enough to drink wouldn't have some problems in it that maybe you should have looked at by a mechanic?
Well, I didn't mind doing the rest of the work to it.
What do you mean the rest of the work?
I didn't expect for it to have brake problems.
Well, why is that? I mean, it's going to have some problems. You didn't inspect for any problems. Right. You didn't even get it inspected. You don't know. And then the first problem it had, you didn't even take it in to find out how much it would cost.
I hadn't even took it home.
You just said, whoa, I want my money back. And okay. And that's good because apparently you took the car back.
Yeah.
Right. And you agreed to pay him back how much did he pay for the car?
The car is worth about 12 to 14. Okay. He paid $600 for the car.
Okay. If the car was worth 12 or 13, you better believe you would have sold it for 12 or 13. It's worth what someone will pay you. So apparently it's not God's gift to cars and transportation because he couldn't even make it home in that piece of garbage.
No, he did. He took the car home.
He took the car, and did you make it home?
No.
No, that's what he said.
The brake fluid went all the way. I had to go home. I drove it home, but I had to go with no brakes.
And then what'd you do?
I parked it. I called George.
Okay, did he call you the same day you sold it to him?
Later on, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so now that you agreed to take the car back, what did you do with the car?
I sold it to another coworker.
Another coworker, because that went so well the first time.
Well, I offered to fix the brakes for him. That was the first thing.
But it didn't go well the first time. So now you sell it to another coworker, and how much do you sell it for?
$500.
Did that coworker pay you?
Yeah.
Fully?
Yep.
Okay, so you say he did not pay you fully, the $600.
No, he didn't.
How much did he pay you?
He paid me $380.
Okay, and you say what to that?
I paid him 3 different times, $300, $200, and $100. The first week when she gave me $300, came out of her hand to my hand to his hand. Second week, I paid him $200, and then he chased me the last week when he shouldn't even have been at work. Made sure I found a supervisor to say, here, we're done. Here's the last $100. Here's your $600.
Do you have that supervisor here to testify?
No.
Do you have an affidavit from that supervisor to testify that, in fact,
Up until 2 weeks ago, I thought we were done. Until
I know, but you knew before. Nobody kidnapped you and brought you here today, right?
No.
Like you knew you were going to litigate this today.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have a receipt. You say you had a witness who said we're done in front, but you don't bring me anything from that person.
The car was never technically sold to him.
You're not listening to me. Did you drive the car to work?
I took it back to work. No brakes and all.
Why did you do that?
Because I didn't want it.
I know you didn't want it.
I wanted to make sure.
But that's dangerous.
Spend some time with Judge Millian. For free tickets, call 1-888-780-8587.
So would you ever sell a 21-year-old car to a coworker?
I mean, if they are willing to buy it, they know what they're getting into. They know it's a 98.
Good idea, bad idea? What do you think?
It's like a bad idea. If you want to stay off the gossip radar at work, don't sell your vehicle, especially if it's 20 years old.
21. But who's counting? Going inside the courtroom.
I don't care about the car anymore. I care that you acknowledge that there was a $600 debt. Mm-hmm. The only contest here is, did you pay it fully?
Yeah.
That's the only contest. He says you didn't. The burden is on you to prove payment. So you have to show me the receipts, show me the check, the canceled check, bring me a witness who says the first payment was $300. He says that the first payment was $180. He says then you gave him $200 after that, and that you still owe him $220. It's such an odd figure to make up. So if you are able, instead of smirking, if you're able to provide proof by having the witnesses who saw you pay him testify or give me an affidavit from them, or having the supervisor, that would be awesome, say, yes, my man said this is the last payment, and Jay said, yes, it is. You know, that would be awesome if you had that. Do you have that?
No.
Oh. Okay. Do you guys have texts between each other that...
I do.
You do? Oh, what do you do? Why are you holding out on me? Give me those texts.
I got the can of brake fluid, too, and I'm making...
No, I don't need that. I want the text where he acknowledges that money's still owed. Do you have that?
He wouldn't answer me, so he didn't acknowledge
Okay, well, that's okay. Well, you text him and he doesn't say, what are you talking about? Yeah. One of the things he doesn't do then is say, what are you talking about? I've already paid you.
That's why I brought the car back to him.
Just show me the text.
I'm about to get it. Here you go.
So let's go back. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, the phone's a little broke, George.
That's all right. I have experience looking through cracks on a phone. Here we go. When did you pay him his final payment?
I want to say around October 26th, maybe a week before.
Why do you want to say that?
Because I worked seasonal, so the end of my job was October 26th, and it was before.
When was the beginning of your job?
June 28th.
As you can see, he gave me nothing at October 28th. We wasn't even speaking anymore. My last day was October 5th. He worked.
So on September 28th, you say, yo, George, I'll see you at work since you don't want to answer. I want my money. Can't sell a car with no brakes. Have my money. I'll have your car. So that's at September 28th that
Yeah.
Don't spend my money. I'm going to give you your keys. I want my money. No questions asked Monday. Don't drive because I'm not taking that car home. I'm taking my plates off. You can take the car. What'd you do? Did you drive the car to work?
I took it back to work. No brakes and all.
Why did you do that?
Because I didn't want it.
I know you didn't want it.
I wanted to make sure.
But that's dangerous.
I wanted to make sure
See
he
you
get
Monday.
it back as soon as possible.
So then on Sunday, September 30th, George, about the car, what are you going to do? I don't have time to play the silly game of phone tag where you're not answering. Remember, if I don't hear from you today, I'll be leaving your car at work. That's all September 30th. Then on October 1st, when are you going to start giving me my money? If I don't have my money by Monday, I'm going to court and file a lawsuit against you. And you finally answer, this is October 19th, and you finally answer what money? And he says, my $220. I'm going to call James and let him know. Who's James?
James is his boss.
Okay.
James gave him the car.
So I thought the bosses were going to get angry, but apparently they're doing. Everybody's trying to unload the hot potato. Pay the guy. You know, we're done. Yeah, you have no proof of what you're saying. You don't have a single person to buttress that you finished paying it. The guy goes to the trouble of filing a lawsuit against somebody who he used to work with. You know, he texts you. It's not like you're forthcoming and answering his text. You're ignoring him all the time. You're shady as can be, all right? And then you claim that you have proof that you gave him a final payment and you don't bring it. $220 verdict for the plaintiff.
So the plaintiff is going to finally get his $220 back. Mr. Schoendorf, the judge called you shady. What do you think about that?
It is what it is.
Did you pay him?
Yeah. I know I paid him. He knows I paid him.
Why do you think he would file a lawsuit against you if he knows you paid him? I mean, it's a lot of trouble to go through, don't you think, for $200?
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Well, the assumption is you didn't do it. And that's what the judge thinks.
I know what the truth
Thank
was.
you very much. Okay. Mr. Johnson?
How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Great. George is a very shady character. He know he didn't give me the money, and he probably still won't.
Well, you got the judgment. You know,
all right.
You got the court behind you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good enough. Congratulations. Harvey?
Hey, just a word of advice. If you're in a dispute and going back and forth on an email, don't ignore the other person repeatedly.